much at left tackle. How's he developed so far, and what's the thing that he needs to do the most before next season?
He's trained there in the past, so it's not like it's anything new for him. Something that we've always done is cross-train guys, so it's not like it's really anything new. There is some intricacies as far as learning the position, but I expect him to do well. We believe in the guy. He's done well thus far. Hopefully he'll continue, and I think the biggest thing for me is I want to develop quality depth behind him, but I feel good about where we're headed there.
Do you like his weight at the position and his footwork?
Yeah, he's good. He's going to be strong. He's powerful. He's one of our strongest guys. He's got a 31.5-inch vertical. So you can look at all your combine numbers. That's pretty good for an offensive lineman.
Is he a different kind of lineman after getting that experience at guard?
I think when you play inside, specifically guard and center, there's more of a physical type mentality. So when you do bump out the tackle, it's a little easier somewhat as far as the run blocking goes. But the pass blocking is where the obviously a challenge comes, especially on 3rd and long.
Have you given much thought to moving Wanham to left tackle, or is he permanently?
He trains over there. So we train basically about 4 guys over there right now. We train, obviously, Hutch over there. Dylan Wanham gets reps over there in practice. Jalen Nichols is a guy that we'll train over there. And then currently Eric Douglas will be a guy starting after spring break that I'll dabble with some reps over there just to make sure, we got enough guys. The goal is to come out of spring with 8 guys that can play.
How would you handicap where the battle at right guard is right
now? I think it's day to day, really. Eric Douglas has done some good things in there. Jordan Rhodes flashes at times of the guy that we expect him to be. So, it's kind of up in the air. Eric's been a little bit more consistent as far as some assignment things. Rhodes brings a little bit more punch with him. But those guys are all battling, and who knows where the lineup's going to shake out at the end of the day. So we got a bunch of guys competing, and that's all you can ask for.
How much of a factor do you expect Jovan Gwen to be at that spot before?
Well, hopefully we get him back on the field here soon. He's been doing some individual periods. In the individual drills, you can see the physical traits that he has, and that's what we recruited. Obviously, he's a 500-pound bencher. He's explosive. He can run. So, it'll be exciting to get him back in here, hopefully after the spring break in a full-time mode and see what he can do, because some of the things he did early in camp were encouraging.
Is your thought at the moment that Sedarius is your left tackle, or he's just getting the first shot at it?
I'm expecting him to probably be the left tackle right now, but, nothing's ever guaranteed in this game.
With a guy like Dylan, how do you balance bringing him along as a normal freshman to sophomore without trying to look too much on him too quickly for the guy that
once you've started 7 games in this league, you should be ready to go. And that was really part of the process of waiting to not start him right off the bat. There's just so many things you got to learn, especially at this level, the speed of the game and how fast it is and the physicality. But Dylan's going to continue to progress. I've seen some improvement in him already. He's done some things in the weight room that's made him a better football player already. Hopefully that'll continue to happen throughout the course of summer, and I think the best is yet to come with that guy.
The fact that you have 2 guys kind of even at center, does it make it more difficult when you add the extra bit of having to snap it and get familiar with the quarterbacks, or is it a good problem to have?
No, it's a good problem to have. Hank unfortunately got hurt his ankle there and doing some plyometrics box jumps, but he'll be fine. And then obviously Chandler's got in there and done some really good things. Today I had Eric Douglas in there at center, so I want to make sure I have at least 4 guys, with Donnell. So I'll have 4 guys that can play center, and if you can do that, you got a chance to be pretty good.
Is there anything else you can teach Donnell Stanley since, he's about 30 years old?
Yeah, he's probably going to start collecting Social Security here pretty soon. But he didn't have any gray hair, so you might need to use some of that Grecian formula he got. But Donnell is just a great young man, works hard, comes to work every day. He's our leader, and I expect him to have a big year at left guard for us, and he can always jump in there and play center. And who knows, in the fall you're going to have your five best guys out there.
Will Manos be back this
Yes,
spring?
he'll be back more than likely Thursday, definitely after the break.
Wolf, looking at Donnell, did you have to, you say he's your leader, did you have to tell him to step it up a little? Is that something that he kind of fell into naturally?
No, he's kind of he was really that guy a little bit last year, and Sedarius has really stepped up too. Those 2 guys have taken ownership, and they're bought in, and that's a compliment to them. You know, they bought into our program, bought into what Coach Muschamp's doing here, and you know, I think it bodes well for the future.
What was it about MJ that brought him over to your side of the ball, and what have you noticed?
Well, I think the thing is you know, a lot of times you take a defensive lineman, you bring them over, and they realize now athletically they're probably ahead of most of the guys on that side of the ball. So he's still in the learning curve part of it, but you know, he makes progress every day. I tell him every day, just get better at one thing, and if you keep doing that, you know, in 90 days you'll be that much better. 180 days, you'll be that much better. So just take things one day at a time, stack good days on top of good days, and good things are going to happen to you.
He'll stay there after the break as well.
Yes. I mean, I think it'll be his choice, but everybody wants to be an offensive lineman. I mean, really deep down in their heart, I mean, everyone really wants to be an offensive lineman, just good, salt-of-the-earth people.
Is that right?
No question.
Wolf, MJ Webb, I think, was helping you out these first 5 days. Do you guys like his development? Do you think he'll stick on offense?
I think he'll progress, you know, and hopefully he does.
What's some of the other guys that y'all signed with this last class? I guess obviously not here yet, but what?
Well, I mean, Jalen Nichols has done some good things for a young guy. Yeah. You know, he's starting to learn that it's a lot different than high school, the speed of the game. But he's got some natural tools. He's got some physical traits. He's got some ability. You know, it's kind of going fast for him at times, but he competes. He's got to learn, you know, some finer details of blocking when it comes to blocking an SEC guy compared to a high school guy, but he looks like he's going to have a chance to be a good player for us. And then, you know, that new group of guys that we signed will all be here in June, and we'll get those guys up to speed in June and July. And, you know, who knows, we might be talking about a couple more guys in the lineup before it's all said and done.
Was there anything specific that Jalen was able to show you even before getting on the practice field, just since arriving on campus?
I think, you know, the one thing about them is you know, I always evaluate their parents, you know, and one thing you figured out real quick is their discipline. You know, they believe in hard work. They believe in doing things the right way. And, you know, when they talk about being here at 1 o'clock, they're going to be here at 12:30. You know, that's just the way he was raised. So his mom's done a great job, and he started off on the right foot here. He's at meetings on time. He's in his playbook. He's studying plays. He listens. He writes down. He takes notes. So that's the first part of it. And then the physical tools, we saw that on film when we watched him, you know. And he's a guy that, you know, he jumped 30 inches with a strained hamstring. You know, that's just a high school kid. So that's pretty good when you start looking at numbers. That tells you what he has in his body, and he weighs 325 pounds. So that's a freshman that's supposed to be going to the prom in a couple weeks. You know what I mean?
Have you guys had any further clarification on Ayama and what his situation is?
They haven't medically cleared him, you know. It's one of those deals where you kind of leave the medical side, handle their backyard. I've got enough problems in my own backyard, so I'm worried about that right now.
Does he come around practice at all?
Yeah, well, he comes out and he comes to meetings and those things, and he's around. It's just, you know, when you're not medically cleared, you're not medically cleared.
These signees, how much did you look at when in the recruitment process, their ability to play multiple positions and kind of bounce around and do different things on the offense?
Well, a lot of times they don't. I always make a decision, is this guy strictly a one-position player? And that's not good. If you can only play center, that's not good. You know what I mean? Like corn dog. I mean, when you look like that, you're a one-position player. You know, the reality is I want guys that can play tackle and hopefully guard and left guard, you know, that type of thing. But that's what you always want. A lot of kids that play tackle in high school are going to have to be an inside player, you know, when they move inside. So it's hard to find those tackle-type bodies. But when you can find a guy that has power that can play tackle and guard, there's a premium on that.
Hank started the bowl game, and then Chandler was listed at least as number one coming in the spring. Did he do something to –
Sprained his ankle.
That was the only difference.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're not out there, I don't know. You want me to put corn dog in there?
I can put every
Well,
one.
we don't have no chance of winning.
I was just kidding.
I had something.
When you hear Will,
That's what you guys get for standing so close.
I had something. I can't remember.
Use space here. It's fine.
when you hear Will say you want to improve from 4.5 yards to 5.5 yards, outsiders may say, what goes into that 1 yard?
Finishing blocks,
Okay.
you know, at the end of the day, and that's everybody. But we've taken a lot of pride in that, and there's emphasis on getting better in the run game and finishing blocks, and that's been a big point of emphasis here this spring. A lot of times we get on blocks, and against good people, they're able to get off blocks, and we want to obviously work on maintaining them and hand placement and finishing blocks, and that's what we've been stressing.
Have you been in touch with Zach at all about how he did at the combine?
Talked to him yesterday. I saw him and Dennis yesterday, and it's always an eye-opening experience for those guys. I had a chance to do it myself, and it's a little bit of a reality check. It's serious. It's not just a 4-hour-a-day job like it is here in college. It's all day. It's every day. It's intense. Everything's important.
With Zach specifically, no ill effects of the injury, or was he limited in any way?
Well, he was limited, obviously. He'll do all of his testing here on the pro day on the 21st, so we'll get a chance to see Zach, back to full speed.
I guess he considers the screen game, the outside thing, as part of the run game as an offensive line coach. I mean, what goes into having your guys block on the perimeter like that? And do you feel
That's
like
the biggest challenge
Yeah.
there is in college football, especially for offensive linemen, going out there and blocking in space. And that comes with athleticism, also understanding where the ball is and how to leverage the football and leverage the blocks.
What do you miss with Dennis Daly leaving and Hutch coming in? Not to really compare the two, but what is it that Dennis did well that Hutch has got to get there?
Dennis did a lot of good things for us, obviously. And, I think his relationship with Hutch has made this transition a lot easier. They're good friends. But, our mentality is Dennis is a great player. He's on to the next level. And we expect the same for the next guy that steps in. We're going to play at a high level and want to play even better. I want Hutch to play better than Dennis. I want Hutch to get drafted higher than Dennis. That's all of our mentality. And that's the way it should be. Is we want to keep getting better. We don't want to stay the same.
How do you coach the illegal man downfield thing? What do you tell your guys about that?
I don't say anything about it. I just tell them to go block their guys, and if the ref calls it, he calls it. But we don't necessarily know when.
I mean, it's gotten to be more and more of a gray area. So
I mean, we don't know. Specifically when there's a pass on a play. We don't know. So we just go run block our run play, and the ball's got to be out in a certain amount of time, so that way you don't get called for lineman downfield.
So that's more on the quarterback at that point. He's got to get the ball before you get 4 yards down the field.
Yeah, and most of the time, though, when you think about when you're combo blocking somebody or whatever you're doing, it's a gap scheme where you're pulling people. There's not a lot of guys getting downfield because of the techniques and the defense. The defense isn't backpedaling. They're coming up and meeting you, so you end up being right there in that gray area.
Defensive coaches have complained a lot about it the last few years. Is that just defensive coaches complaining, or do you think it needs – yeah.
I mean, they would probably prefer to have it scripted, plays scripted, you know what I mean? That's just the way it is.
You mentioned guys being versatile with Chandler and Hank. Is there any chance whoever doesn't get that starting job move over for right guard? Or
yeah, so I talked with Chandler today because, I told him I was going to go with a new guy at center today. And after break, I want to get him some right guard reps, get a look at that. That's where he feels most comfortable. And obviously, I'll let Hank probably get about, 6 practices in, and then I'll probably move him around a little bit and see how he looks at guard. So that way, during the course of these 15 practices, I've evaluated multiple guys at center, multiple guys at guard, so I have a better idea really where my true pecking order is as far as my 6th man, my 7th man, my 8th man, 9th, 10th, that kind of thing. But right now we're shooting for 8.
How much does a good attitude help with a guy
Got
like
great
that?
attitude. And I mean, it's not fun when you walk into a meeting today and, I tell them, hey, you're not going to be with the starting group today, but you have to tell them why. You have to make sure they understand the big picture, and part of being an offensive lineman, you got to be selfless, and that's what we always talk about: is doing what's best for the team and figuring out who our guys are.
I know stability is a relative word, but is this as stable as the position that you've had since you've been here?
I don't know just yet. I feel good about where we're headed. Let's put it that way. And it starts with their attitude. It starts with their leadership. And I think those guys are on the right track as far as that goes. We want to make an impact, and we're continuing to try to do that, and getting better at finishing blocks going to make us that much better in the run game, continuing to improve our ability to protect the quarterback in passing situations will just make us that much better. And as we continue to get more athletic, we should expect to play better.
But it took a lot to get to this point. I mean, you had a couple of years ago, you were playing true freshmen that you probably didn't want to play and things of that nature.
Hey, you don't cry about it. You just that's what you inherit. One year I think we had 8 or 9 different starters. My first year back here, and the next guy steps in and comes in and plays, and we expect you to play at a high level. We all do the same drills. We all work hard and do things right and study the game, study film. We're all in the same meetings. It's about your preparation and your mindset.
What about Ja'Kai made him such a highly recruited guy and somebody y'all really targeted?
Well, he's obviously a tremendous athlete. You know, he's finished up in the playoffs there in basketball. He's a guy that can run the court. He's 300 pounds, 6'6", can legitimately play left tackle. I know he can play right tackle. I know he can play guard, so he's a 4-position player right there already. He likes football. I think he's still raw. But the thing about him is when we get him down here in June, we'll have 2 months with him to get him ready to go. And, you know, he's another guy, Jalen Nichols type guy, as far as a guy can come in and, you know, who knows how fast he learns the plays and how bad he wants it. He might be able to sneak up in there and be in the 2 deep or be the next man in, or who knows. By midseason, he might be the best guy. I don't know. You know, I can't predict that.
Is there a lift number that you look at, is one above the others when you're trying to evaluate an offensive lineman?
I always take a look at all their numbers as far as their vertical jump, broad jump. Those are 2 big numbers that tell me a lot about the explosion they have in their body. You know, you can't hide that. And, you know, I'm not going to get into it now, but there's a reason why the NFL at the Combine, offensive line coaches pay attention to the vertical jump. You pay attention to the broad jump. It tells you about explosion. Now, you also go back to film. Film doesn't lie. But there's a direct correlation, and there should be.
Is there an idea that you can build strength, but you can't necessarily build explosion? Explosion might be more of a trait.
I would say yes. You're an explosive player. You know, you possess power. A lot of guys are strong in the weight room, but amazingly on the field they're not powerful. Either the guy has power in his body or he doesn't, and it's just something that I think you're kind of born with it. You either got it or you don't.
Who are your most powerful guys on the field?
Sedarius, you know, I mean, obviously he had a 31, and, you know, obviously vertical. Donnell jumped 30 and a half. You know what I mean? I mean, that's impressive. And then you look at Jalen Nichols jumped 30 as a rookie with a little bit of a strained hamstring. Those are 3 guys that jump out at you. I mean, Eric Douglas improved by 5 inches, you know. But, you know, those are all things we talk about a lot, and I think it shows up on the field.
To be clear, you said you moved Chandler. Was that for Eric to step in at center?
I wanted to look at Eric today at center as a starting center, and I wanted to look at Jordan Rhodes as a starting right guard and give that 2 days and kind of let it marinate a little bit and see how it looks on film and see how they perform, so that way I'm not going into the last week of spring ball moving guys all around because I didn't do a proper job of evaluating during the course of the spring ball period.
What was the recruiting process like for Vincent Murphy? It seemed like he came, visited, shut everything down, and just kind of went quiet.
That's the way he is. Murph's no nonsense. He'll run through a wall for you. That's what you got to love about Murph. You know, he's a 2-time captain at St. Thomas Aquinas. The last guy that was that, his name was Bosa. You know, and it's voted on. You know, it's not something that's given. So, we've got high expectations from Murph.
What would you like about his traits as a player in the evaluation process?
Blue collar, works hard, loves the weight room, loves football. Football's important to him. Family's important to him. Obviously played at a great program. Loves to compete. Competes at a high level. I always talk to him about overtraining. You know, those are good traits to talk about guys as far as, you know, hey, slow them down a little bit here. I don't want them overtrained.
In terms of evaluation, is there an off-the-field something that you look for? You mentioned being a team captain, so I'm thinking along those lines. Team captain or grades, or is there something outside?
Off-the-field traits?
Yeah, is there an off-the-field trait that sticks out to you that thinks an offensive lineman, that's an offensive
I just
lineman?
think you got to listen to them talk. You know what I mean? And whether it's looking at their Twitter, looking at the way they text, where they text you back, you know, just those type of things.
How does an offensive lineman talk?
Well, as far as their DNA, their wiring, like what's important to them. If Twitter's real important to you and those type of things and all that, and if recruiting's like really, really important to you and that's all you worry about and you worry about stars and all those kind of things, I don't know that you're really an offensive lineman. That's more for like skill guys. You know what I mean? Right. Like we're not wired like that. You know, we know what's important.
And you think that's important?
No, there's no question.
That is
no doubt.
something that you look at.
No doubt about it. That's my belief. Whether it's right or wrong, yeah. I don't want guys worried about recruiting. I don't want a guy worried about how many stars he has. Some of my highest drafted players have been guys with no stars.
On average, how many players do you cross off your list each year because Twitter's too important?
I wouldn't necessarily cross off. I just kind of let them fall by the wayside, you know. because I realized that there's another guy that's more blue collar type mentality that I want, and we're a blue collar program.
So you're
That's what
saying
we are.
Those kind of things take care of themselves, is what you're saying?
No question.
Anything else for Coach?